Welcome to another album ranking. This one was a bit easier to do than others because Tank aren't the kind of band who regularly produce albums on the exact same quality level. Instead, the band history was a struggle with many ups and downs. This stunning lady named Alex will assist me a bit with the album covers today. In the last decade, LG released two albums, which were not fully produced recordings by a band, but a kind of solo project, home recording with drum computer. I would rather call them demos, since the sound quality is far below album standards. If you see that half of the thanks list in here consists of doctors and therapists, you know it wasn't an easy time for him. Unfortunately, these poor recordings don't help to revive Tank. Instead, they rather damage the name. The better one of the two demo recordings, but still it's safe to assume they are only for sale because LG needs the money. Some songs on Sturmpanzer show good ideas. Leanne's Crying, The Last Soldier, Living in Fear of, but they need a better treatment. What some ex-members did without LG? Re-recording old songs with uninspired vocals. Some renditions are okay, for example Blood, Guts and Beer or This Means War. Others are downright horrible, like Power of the Hunter or Shell Shock with Cradle of Filth, Screamer Danny. It's an album the world doesn't need. An album featuring Zip, another new singer. My favorite track is Heading for Eternity, which has some great guitar playing.
The day started out so good.
On the other hand, you get generic hard rock like Make a Little Time, which has the kind of Love Me Baby lyrics you'd expect from Guns N' Roses or somebody. The fifth album from 1988 met with lukewarm reviews, like this one in Metal Hammer magazine, who wrote, "It hasn't really been worth the wait. Drum production is cheap. No match for Filth Hounds of Hades." You find some good songs on the LP, like March On Sons of Nippon and The Hell They Must Suffer. But altogether, after its four great predecessors, it was not fulfilling the high expectations. This was the first Tank album without LG. War Machine is a fine new wave of British heavy metal album with catchy melodies and ex-Rainbow singer Doogie White. I love the record he did with Richie Blackmore. Doogie's got a great voice for melodic bands like Praying Mantis, but he's simply miscast for Tank. Phoenix Rising, The Last Laugh and the title track are my favorite songs on War Machine. The second album with Doogie has powerful tunes like Hammer and Nails, emotional moments like Dreamer, and speedy numbers like State of the Union. The mixture works, and it's perfectly produced, which you can't say of all Tank albums. After years of silence, Tank returned to public attention in 1997, playing the Wacken Festival. On the following tour, I filmed an interview with LG and Cliff, which you find on my channel. The live album, The Return of the Filth Hounds, followed. In 2002, 14 years after the fifth Tank album, the sixth album was finally released.
It's time.
I suppose some people had meanwhile forgotten about Tank because it became kind of a lost album, disappeared from the shops. It's a pity, since songs like And Then We Heard the Thunder, The Quiet, In the Last Hours Before Dawn or When the Hunter Becomes the Hunted perfectly continue where Honor and Blood left off. It's a good record and the last classic Tank album. With hindsight, the band wasn't entirely happy with their second studio album, because after the first album became a hit, Power of the Hunter was put together in a bit of a rush, recorded only 3 months after the release of Filth Hounds. Still, it has plenty of good songs, from Walking Barefoot Over Glass to Red Skull Rock. This album was really hard to find for some years. I got the pricey Japanese import CD at the time, and recently it's been re-released on vinyl for the first time since the 80s. Tank's fourth studio album was more melodic than the early releases. Mick Tucker's lead guitar had transformed the sound into this direction. The War Drags Ever On, the title track, and the surprisingly melancholic Wasting My Life Away are the three outstanding tunes for me on a very good album. The debut in 1982 immediately put Tank on the map, simple, straightforward and rocking the house.
Just kids having fun.
Songs like Stormtrooper, That's What Dreams Are Made Of or Shell Shock would still be played live decades later. The Hellhound from the cover remained everyone's favorite t-shirt motif until today. Tank had been compared to Motorhead a lot with the first two albums. Similar attitude, similar British background, similar sound. They had toured together and Tank had worked with Fast Eddie Clarke as producer for Filth Hounds. Now with the third album, Tank managed to create their own identity, the Tank style. Admittedly, it was a bit surprising to hear keyboards at the beginning of Just Like Something From Hell and that the song runs over 8 minutes. But in the end, the album isn't so different from its predecessors, just everything got a bit bigger, more epic, while songs like Laughing in the Face of Death or If We Go Down Fighting maintain the familiar, rebellious attitude. The final track, Echoes of a Distant Battle, is probably my favorite Tank song. If somebody asked me what Tank are about, I'd play this song to him. Says it all. Tank, a great band. Thank you.